And we welcome you aboard as you are looking an aerial view at the Defiance YMCA Natatorium as we've got a big swim meet just about to get underway. Brent Balbanon alongside Josh Bush as we welcome you aboard to DCTV Sports. All right, you are half color announcer. You are half proud father here this afternoon, but you promised me you are 100% locked into this one. This is, again, when you think about basketball or football or virtually any other sport, maybe with the exception of wrestling, you can think of, okay, how many home games or how many meets do you have? But when you're talking swimming, it's a completely different beast, and their Defiance in particular is ready to put their best foot forward here today.
Yeah, they are, and, you know, they've been working towards this. Obviously, you know, swim season, it seems like it just kind of hurries up and gets here. And the biggest thing with swimming is you have to get conditioned for it, you know, and you don't think about, you know, a lot of times when you're in the pool, you don't think about the amount of effort that you're putting forth because you're already wet. But you're exerting so much effort and so much energy just to get down the pool lanes. So getting in those preseason workouts, those early season workouts, you know, perfecting the stroke and the breathing and all that stuff, those are all huge pieces of that puzzle. And again, now you're about middle of the season, and now you kind of click in and starting to get those times dwindled down. Looking ahead to, obviously, league meets are coming up, sectionals are on the way, and you want to, you know, be
make
ready
sure you
to go
qualify.
Yeah,
absolutely. And with that said, kind of piggybacking on what you just said there, we're going to see several Defiance team members who aren't necessarily going to be racing in what might be considered their strongest or standard meets, or pardon me, not meets, but events. But that's for the betterment of the team. If you got a teammate that you know maybe needs to shave a few seconds off, even a fraction of a second in a sport like this makes a huge difference. So we're going to see some unique lineups this afternoon.
Yeah, and you know, it's sometimes you get into that routine where you swim these events all the time, and in this situation they just had a meet on Tuesday, coming back again here today, short turnaround to get into the pool again. So you change it up a little bit and give them the opportunity to get a time and see, you know, obviously you want team points too. Some of that factors in there. You want to try to strategize, especially when you have a small team like Defiance. You got to try and strategize a little bit to maximize your points. And so you're going to see, you know, a couple of swimmers swimming a couple of different events today. Senior night as well. So I know some of the seniors picked a couple of events that, you know, that they wanted to get in the pool, and maybe they don't swim all the time. But again, I think the Western Buckeye League meet for Defiance is coming up the last Saturday of January already. So, you know, just a few weeks away to be ready to go, and everybody wants to hit the podium there.
You mentioned Senior Day and the seniors on deck being acknowledged. We've already seen a couple go by. Up next, looks like Gabrielle Rittenauer. Dad is a man's man. You talk about a cold beverage and getting out during the dog days of August on the gridiron, but his daughter is an accomplished diver, and tell you what, it is hot here. If anybody's never been to a swim meet, you come out on deck, and it's not just hot, but there's a stickiness in the air. The divers, the swimmers both want the water at a certain temperature, but this ought to be very, very interesting because for those seniors, it's tough to kind of keep everything in perspective, because every time you step foot out on the deck, you know, this is the last time I'm going to then fill in the blank. But in talking with Coach Smolik, he said, you can think that afterwards. He goes, right now we need you locked in and focused here. Give yourself a memory that you'll take with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and you know, pool temperatures typically about 78 to 80 degrees for competitive pools. I don't know, I mean, that sounds like air temperature good, but in a pool sense, that's pretty cold. But you're right, you come out here and you got to hit the water, you got to get those turns, you want your starts crisp, you want your turns to be, you know, nice and precise and timed just right so that you're not losing. I mean, you talk about starts and finishes and turns, there's so much time that you can gain or lose in those little bit of techniques and making sure that you're counting your strokes the right way, you're hitting the turn the right way. You know, those things can really, you know, not breathing out of that turn is another big one. All of those things, that's what you got to focus on, because those cost you, like you said, fractions of a second. And you'll see here today, some of these races, I can almost assure you, will come down to, you know, half a second or maybe less in some instances.
Well, again, we want to thank our sponsors, or our underwriters, I should say, helping make coverage of Defiance area high school athletics possible, not the least of which is the Estill Chevrolet Cadillac pregame, or in this case, pre-meet, you could say, is what you're watching. So our thanks going out to Estill Chevrolet Cadillac. We are, looks like the last of the seniors being recognized. We're getting set to get underway here. The field, again, here this afternoon, there's some meat on the bone for this one. Anthony Wayne, Ayersville, Lima Central Catholic, of course, Defiance, and you're going to see or hear names from some schools peppered in from basically schools that don't have swim programs. So there's a young man, to use an example, from Sonora that is swimming with Defiance. We'll see some others, Patrick Henry, a few others. We'll give you names and updates of those. But again, in this case, it's one giant fraternity or sorority in both cases. You're not going to turn anybody away, especially if they can help you perform and pick up points.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's great to see, you mentioned the young man from Sonora, Lucas Bennett. I've seen him through the years with the club team. He swam, I think since he was probably 7 or 8 years old. So he's a veteran swimmer that's been a part of swimming here, and the Defiance kids will tell you he's just like one of their teammates. And you know, it's great to see these kids that, you know, they maybe don't have that program in their school, but they've found a love for a sport, and you know, the school's given them the opportunity to still compete by going to you know, a sister or neighboring school.
Looks like the seniors have been recognized. Looks like, again, some of the members helping out support takes, again, people. You talk about running the scoreboard during a basketball game or running a match during a wrestling match. Again, no different here with a swim meet. A lot of people behind the scenes.
Well, yeah, you got 2 timers in every lane. So you've got 12 volunteers. A lot of the club, older kids from the Y club team will do that. You've got to have a, oh, excuse me, we're at our national anthem.
It is brought to you by the Defiance Elks, Lodge 147. We're going to lay out here for the national anthem. And the national anthem, courtesy of the Defiance Elks, Lodge 147. Rep. Alvinaut Josh Bush saying thank you for joining us at the Defiance YMCA. We used to call it pool in my day, but natatorium, I believe, is now the vernacular. But this is going to be a pretty good meet, and it's going to be an acid test for a lot of the athletes here this afternoon.
And we're going to get things fired up right away. The medley relays, for those of you who have never been around a meet before, there is a traditional form. The order of events is the same in every meet. So
fill us in. Feel free.
Medley relay. So that's it's a 200-yard medley relay. So you got 4 swimmers, each swim 50. They'll each take a stroke. So it'll be back, breast, fly, and then free.
So the lead anchor is going to be back, as Josh mentioned, for Anthony Wayne. It's going to be Gianna Cortez. For Lima Central Catholic, Emma Skinner. For Anthony Wayne, Audrey Beeman. For Defiance, Jasmine Rodriguez. And Anthony Wayne's putting up a second team. It's going to be Eden Yates in lane number 5.
So it looks like the Anthony Wayne and Lima Central, Anthony Wayne's A team and Lima Central Catholic hit the wall on the turn there in about neck and neck. But Lima Central Catholic, Emma Skinner had a really nice turn there on that backstroke. You can see Jasmine Rodriguez, who is a newcomer to the swim team for Defiance, in there for lane number 4, doing a really nice job. Has really come a long way over the last couple of weeks.
First to touch the wall, Anthony Wayne's Gianna Cortez. So into the water, Ruby Yates, and hot on her heels is Addie Lauk for Lima Central Catholic. Defiance now sending Jordan Bush. Where have we heard that name? Into the water. All right, so can she make up some time here?
Now this is her best stroke, so we'll see if she can close a little bit of gap here. Looks like maybe she's going to a little bit. And she'll come off of there, dolphin kick. Comes out. Now the breaststroke is one of those you either love it or you hate it. And the key is to pull out and get that kick going at the same time.
Tell you what, she shaved at least one body length off the lead here. She might even be in second place when she touches the wall. It's going to be very close.
And then we've got Anthony Wayne's A-Team, LCC, and Defiance going neck and neck here right down to the turn here in the butterfly. Again, this is probably the most hated stroke of all of them. Out of the water, and Haley Becker doing a great job here for Defiance.
Look who's in the lead.
One of the seniors and one of the leaders on this team.
Well, Sophia Schultz is going to be swimming the anchor, and she's going to have almost a 2-length body lead when she hits the water.
Adrian Fry in for Defiance, and she'll have a nice head start there. LCC and then Anthony Wayne in back.
I looked at the wrong
it goes
lane
from
there,
the other
so
way.
my apologies, partner. That's why we give him the mic.
It took me a while too. It's backwards, depending on which way you're looking for it. Looks like Defiance is going to win this by about half a pull length. LCC and Anthony Wayne's A-Team kind of going head-to-head for that second spot. Who will finish here?
Well, freestyle coming down to it. But Defiance winning handily on the strength, especially of their last 2 legs.
Looks like Anthony Wayne was able to sneak in there by about half a second over LCC for second and third.
Again, a strong anchor leg, though, by Adrian Fry. Adrian, I will apologize to you in person later.
She's one of those seniors as well. So, this is a relay team for Defiance that's, adding the 3 pieces have been there, Jordan, Adrian, and Haley, but graduating that backstroker and Jasmine being new to it this year has done a great job, and they've really shaved a lot of time off since the beginning of the year.
So we are underway, and the boys hopping in the pool, getting wet, getting ready to go, as we've got the boys 200-yard medley relay. Not quite as many teams in this one. Anthony Wayne, TJ Miller will open it up. Anthony Wayne has 2 teams, Nate Yoakum, and then Lima Central Catholic will put Austin Craig in the number 1 spot.
Great streamlined start there for Nate Yoakum on that Anthony Wayne A-Team in lane number 3. Comes in. Nice solid turn. Another good streamline out of the turn. And on those backstrokes turns, you can actually go to the red mark of the lane line on the other side before you get disqualified.
Okay. There you go.
Fun fact for you.
Well, I was about to ask you that, because when you see the turn, especially the dolphin kick, I know a lot of swimmers that are powerful underneath, but where's the line of demarcation? At what point do you have to break the surface?
So it's a 10-meter mark is what they call it. So it's 10 meters from the other end of the pool is where you have to be out of the water on the backstroke. And then on this breaststroke, when you turn, you have you get 2 pulls unless you dolphin kick under.
Which is what?
Dolphin kick there, and now he's got a pull, and then they have to come up and stroke.
That dolphin kick, courtesy of it looked like Garrett Smith for Anthony Wayne.
Lima Central Catholic, Lincoln Woods really nailed that breaststroke, gave his team a nice solid lead here.
This is sophomore Andrew Baldoff with the butterfly, but right now swimming against really only himself.
Yep, 2-hand touch there. Nice solid form from Andrew coming out of the water. Looks like Seth Gregory's making up a little ground here too. Well, both Anthony Wayne teams got some good butterfly.
The anchor for Lima Central Catholic, Nate Niemeyer, is in the pool with the freestyle. We'll see what type of turn he gets as he's about to touch the wall.
A little bit slow on his turn. He came out on his back.
Yep.
So a lot of times you see your newer, less experienced swimmers in that freestyle leg of a medley relay. Obviously, it's backstroke and freestyle, the 2 easiest strokes. And
Lima Central runs away with it in a time of 2:10.99. Last two Anthony Wayne swimmers finishing this one out.
Looks like Anthony Wayne B comes in second.
So if that didn't wet your whistle, then maybe our next event, the girls 200-yard freestyle. All right, break this one down for us, because again, one Defiance swimmer, Jordan Bush,
yep,
going to be right smack dab in the middle.
Yep, so you've got 200, so the 25-yard pool. So if you can do the math on that a little bit, you got to go down and back a few times. And this is a case of really you want to get your pace down. You want to start strong and then have a nice solid pace in the middle, and then you want to be able to leave a little bit in the tank and finish off strong.
Well, good start out of the water for about 3 members off the blocks. And in lane number 3, Jordan Bush looks like she's going to be the first to the turn.
It's the turn, comes out, and she didn't breathe out of her flip turn. Her coach would be happy about that one. So that's one of those pieces of the puzzle, especially on a long swim like this. Not taking that breath out of your flip turn can shave a couple of seconds off in the long run, because you're not getting that head out of the water. You get a couple of strokes in before you take a breath.
She's separating herself from the rest of the pack. Alyssa Coble, a freshman, in second place, but right now Jordan Bush putting some distance between her and everybody else. How long since she's been swimming again?
She's a junior. She swam her first event when she was 3. So it's, I think, year 13 of swimming. So.
And as you were telling me, she has the distinction of being the youngest member of a competitive meet ever to basically break the surface of the water here, correct?
Yeah.
How old was she?
She was 3. 2 minutes and 58 seconds, I believe, was the time on her 25-yard freestyle. And she's going to swim this 200 in probably 30 seconds or so faster than that. I think she's coming a little bit.
Just a bit, huh? Right now, she's got at least a half a pool's length over the second place, Alyssa Coble.
The Ayersville swimmers, Alyssa Coble, who's, again, been around the Y Swim Club program here for a lot of years, and good to see her in the water here today, too. One of the things she could work on, as you see here coming out of the water, a lot of times you get these longer events, you see the legs start to tire out a little bit. And you'll hear coaches tell you it's a lot easier to push yourself through the water than to pull yourself through the water. So that kick is so important, especially in longer events.
Right now to turn, and my goodness, it's going to be at least a half a pool's length lead, maybe closer to 3/4. Jordan Bush trying to finish up strong. So tough, and I know in talking with members at the collegiate level, when you get tired, your legs are tired, your arms are tired, sometimes you can go into that tuck and that turn a little early, and next thing you know, you're feeling for the wall. Yep. Where is it?
Yep. And then that's when you lose those precious seconds. If you don't get a good push off that wall, it doesn't take long for you to drop 2-3 seconds. And if you don't hit the wall, there's a judge
then you're
down
in big trouble.
You're in big trouble.
2:31:02 looks like the official score. Bush runs away with the 200-yard freestyle. Second place, Alyssa Coble. And we still have a couple of swimmers right now that are just fighting. This is where people don't understand, and you talked about this. You're in the water, you're wet, but you can sweat in the water. That's awfully warm, but it's when the muscles start burning. And I know you've talked about legs and arms, but I was listening to a Michael Phelps interview once, and he said he was surprised how much he had to strengthen his core.
Yeah,
he goes, everything from the middle is supported from the out or inside out. He goes, so many swimmers learn that the hard way.
We actually had we've had the pleasure and the joy of having some Olympic swimmers at this pool and do some training clinics with our swimmers over the years. And it's amazing some of the things that they talk about. And the core workout is, they do it every single day because of the amount of, and a lot of times it comes down to not just when you're in the water, but that start. Being able to extend your body and push off that block. It's not just your legs. You have to be able to get yourself into that streamlined look, that streamlined position, so you hit the water nice and clean.
So the girls' 200-yard freestyle is now in the books. Up next, the boys' version of it. We'll have Max LeBeau from Lima Central Catholic, Seth Gregory of Anthony Wayne. Looks like he will be in lane 3. Drew Boyd of, I believe that's Ayersville, correct? Yep. In lane 4, and Cole Dudenzik from Anthony Wayne in lane
Nice strong start by all 4 of these young men. Looks like Seth Gregory, a sophomore from Anthony Wayne. Got a couple of swimmers hot on his heels, though.
He's the only underclassman in this event. Everybody else juniors, and of course, Zednik from Anthony Wayne is a senior.
75. This is where you just want to take that breath and you kind of see where your opponents are beside you and figure out what the pace that you need to keep is and just kind of keep pushing away. Going back to those Olympic swimmers, the one that was here working specifically on freestyle starts and turns, and when I tell you that after talking about core, he demonstrated jumping off the block. And when I tell you that how far he jumped off the block, it was unbelievable to watch. I mean, he was easily past the flag. And, you know, again, it comes down to conditioning and strength. And again, legs, arms, but core and everything else. Just amazing to watch what that looks like at that kind of level.
It's, I call it track in the water.
Yep.
But for anybody that hasn't seen a high-level track meet or a high-level swim meet, you will leave impressed. It is something to see. Right now, something to see is Seth Gregory, the sophomore from Anthony Wayne, putting some distance between himself and the pack. The thing I'm noticing here too, Josh, is how long but how smooth his stroke is. He's not choppy, he's not fighting himself. It looks effortless, although you know it's a lot of work.
But one of the things you see, he's got a little bit of an angle at his hands when he's coming down into the water. Legs are kicking strong the entire way. So when you get a little bit of an angle with your hand coming into the water, you're not slapping on the top of the water. You're kind of getting down there like a knife, cutting in there and pulling at it.
He will finish in first place in a time of 2:26.50. And as just a sophomore, imagine how good he's going to be over the next couple of years.
Well, and the thing you notice with Anthony Wayne, a lot of kids on that swim team.
Yes.
They have a big roster of kids, and you know, it's great to see when you talk about numbers in all sports anymore. You know, especially a sport like swimming. It's great to see you know, them be able to continue to build and get those numbers up.
Cole Zunsick from Anthony Wayne is going to finish up his portion of this relay, and all 4 swimmers catching a little extra wind as they work themselves out of the water. As we'll alternate now to the girls' 200-yard individual medley.
Well, this will be similar to the medley relay. It'll be 50 yards of each stroke. It'll be fly back breast free, if I remember correctly. So you get the opportunity to start from the block.
3 participants here. Addie Zins in lane 2, Bryn Lust in lane 3, and Claire Schroeder from Anthony Wayne in lane 4.
Nice strong dolphin kick start there for Bryn Lust of Patrick Henry in lane number 3. Had a nice start there. Let's see if she can get a nice turn. Nice dolphin kick on the turn from lane number 2 there from Addie Zins. Yep. Feet are nice and tight together, and a nice long kick here. Let's see how this turn into the backstroke sometimes can get some swimmers.
Zins taking a little time. We'll see how good she is in the backstroke. Boy, I tell you what, Zust got a good turn there. She has just closed the gap considerably. Now this is interesting because she's choosing to swim on the far marker or boundary here.
Yep, and so sometimes sometimes you just get there by accident.
I'm thinking that might have happened. Well, she cannot be accused of drafting, so.
and some swimmers do like to get further away or closer to the wake from the other swimmers. It just depends. So, all right, we'll see what they elect to do here. If we get any bucket turns into the breaststroke, or if we're going to have a standard turn. So we got standard turns from 3 and 2 and 3, and in 4. So we'll see how they convert out of this. And now's when the fatigue starts to hit in the 200 IM.
Lust keeping a short lead, but at one point in time it was about a body length. And Zins has closed it.
Looks like Lust has got a nice quick turn there, out of the water quickly.
This is where Zins has made up some time, but it looks like, again, Lust just so powerful.
Now it comes down to that final 50. You make the turn out of the breaststroke and
it just becomes a sprint, doesn't it?
Yep, you give everything you got in that last 50 yards of freestyle and sprint your way down and back and see what's left in the tank. And sometimes if you've spent a little bit too much of the tank,
we've talked about arms burning, legs burning, lungs burning at this point in time in a relay. Every gasp of air can feel like fire, but I tell you what, it looks like Bryn Lust has saved her best for last.
Yep, she's got she saved some for the end here, and she's going to finish really nice and strong here. I'd be curious to see at the end what her split is on this 50, but she's going to have a really solid split. Probably going to get about a quarter of a pool length finish over Addie Zins.
So Lust finishes strong.
She dropped about 4.5 seconds
wow.
off of her time. So that's probably the best drop we've seen so far from qualifying time or seat times so far.
Her best time coming into this one was 3:01.27, and she closes this one out in 2:57.25. Amped up.
It's a great swim for Bryn Lust from Patrick Henry.
So up next, we've got the 6th event, the boys 200-yard individual medley.
Looks like we got 3 Anthony Wayne kids and a Lima Central Catholic swimmer.
Lane 2 will be TJ Miller. Lane 3, Garrett Smith. Camden Lengel in lane 4, and Lincoln Woods of Lima Central Catholic in lane 5.
Looks like Lincoln Woods comes out ahead here in the early going of the butterfly. Crucial to get that touch, 2-hand touch on a butterfly.
Boy, Lincoln Woods looked like he was coming out and on deck the way he popped up. He's got some length.
Yep, and that's, you kind of mentioned some of those Olympic swimmers, and Michael Phelps, that was one of the things, his wingspan. He was a tremendous butterfly swimmer, and a lot of that had to do with his wingspan, getting out of the water and being able to propel yourself forward.
So into the backstroke, but right now, just a freshman, Lincoln Woods looking very impressive here in lane number 5.
It looks like TJ Miller's starting to close in over lane 2 into the turn.
Almost tied at the turn, it looks like.
And I'll give that turn win to TJ Miller from Anthony Wayne. He had a nice smooth turn there and almost looked like Lincoln Woods kind of caught himself out of breath on that turn.
So right now, Miller and Woods and everybody else. As Woods, well, he was feeling for the wall right there. I'm not sure if he mistimed his stroke or just wasn't sure, but we'll wait and see. The length you talked about with Woods here, can he make it up or use that to his advantage here with the breaststroke?
Absolutely. You can see when he shoots out, his arms are pulling a lot more water. He's got a nice strong kick behind him. 2-hand touch. Let's see how this turn goes for him.
Yep. His length certainly looks like it's benefiting him here with this particular stroke. Although TJ Smith staying with him.
We'll see, it's going to come down to who has enough or who has a little bit more in him for that final 50. Get this last turn here. It's the 2-hand touch. Butterfly and breaststroke, got to have a 2-hand touch, or it's everybody's least favorite letters, DQ.
Don't like that. Well, in the summer, I think you probably make a DQ run, don't you?
Those runs are okay sometimes.
Your technique, your mechanics at the drive-thru are fantastic from what I've been told.
We're talking to my daughter before this, weren't you?
Heyo.
So it looks like Lincoln Woods is going to hang on here and going to finish strong. None of these swimmers came in with a time, so
no.
That gives you the inclination they probably have not ever swam this in a meet. So 2:42.55 is a pretty solid time for a first time swim.
Well, and TJ Miller closed the gap after the backstroke, but again, you just saw the length. Hard to believe Lincoln Woods is just a freshman. Owns the pool. So we wait for the last. Garrett Smith from Anthony Wayne, just a sophomore. Again, you can tell when you see the fatigue because the bottom half starts to sink.
Yep.
Just a little bit.
And that's where that conditioning comes in. The more you can get those legs working, you keep them up towards the top of the water a little bit more. You're propelling yourself. Again, easier to push your way through the water than to pull your way through the water. And you know, that's somebody lost some goggles down there.
Whoops.
I don't know if it was from this event or if they've just been down there.
They're not hurting anybody, and I don't think anybody's noticed it. We'll wait and see.
Somebody's going to notice when they go back in the water.
Exactly. Well, this one's going to be a loaded event here, Josh. We've got 3 different heats for the girls' 50-yard freestyle.
So heat number 1, you've got Eden Yates of Anthony Wayne in lane 2, Ayolanda Bettino, Lima Central Catholic in 3, and Ariana Bishop from Defiance in lane 4. So these heats are seated slowest to fastest. So you'll have your heat 3 will be your championship, if you will, heat.
All right, now looks like Ayolanda Bettino. Is that close enough?
Sounds good to me. I saw it earlier and I said, I'm glad Brent's on the names today.
Seriously, you just make it up sometimes. But I believe Bettino is the proper pronunciation, and she will touch the wall first. Time of 40:45.
That's about half a second off of her seed time, so a good swim there for Ayolanda.
Heat number 2 getting ready. Not a Defiance swimmer in this heat. Gianna Cortez in lane 2 of Anthony Wayne. Dawn Hibbard in lane number 3. Ava Trent in lane number 4. And Annika Niemeyer in lane number 5.
Dawn, another kid that swam in our Y club team for a few years here, and one of the Ayersville swimmers. Another fun thing that you see, and I kind of noticed it because my kid's wandering down here, but one of the my favorite parts about this is you'll see teammates at the other end of the pool. They're screaming, they're hollering for their teammates. They spend a lot of time in this pool with each other at practice, and that encouragement. I mean,
Sure.
it's tremendous to see them come out here and they're yelling at each other and pushing them to get down the pool. And as you can see, my daughter's there's an Ayersville swimmer in the pool. She's down there yelling for an Ayersville swimmer. So that's what this is about.
So let me ask you this. If she had a headset on, we were talking right now, once you get into the water, your heart starts pounding, you're trying to count, keep your rhythm. How much do you actually hear that's happening on deck?
Oh, nothing.
Okay.
Yeah. She'll tell you that she can hear me, but I yell.
Exceptionally loud.
Yeah.
Well, you got a broadcaster's voice.
And you, if you time out the breaths and get the ear out of the water sometimes, but she'll tell you, it's more of a, and you'll see some coaches on the side, they use hand signals more than they do anything. So when a swimmer's on that breath side, you'll see them, a lot of times it'll be the program or something in their hand. They'll wave them on, or in longer events. We'll talk about this in the 500, some of the strategy with the counters that they use. We'll touch on that a little bit later, but a lot of times it's hand stuff as opposed to verbal.
Well, the third heat here is going to be loaded. All 6 lanes going to be filled.
Haley Becker, Defiance Senior, and Adrian Fry, Defiance Senior in 3 and 4. This is Haley's best event by far.
We Addie Zintz from Anthony Wayne, not a lot of recovery time. She is in lane number 1. But right now, both Defiance swimmers looking very strong here.
Adrian's got to hang on and finish here. Getting challenged from Kira Salos in lane 2, but it looks like she's going to hold on there.
So 29:46, 30:89. Defiance can high-five each other.
Good swim there by all 6 of those young ladies. Had a really good swim there, and all of them under 35 seconds. So nice solid swim there in a 50.
So the girls take advantage of it. Now time for the boys' 50-yard freestyle. Here's where Caleb Sierra is going to be up for Defiance. This is going to be the last of the relays. We'll have diving, and they'll get the pool ready for that when this one's finished. Just a little background on Caleb Sierra.
He's been around the last couple of years. Not a long-time swimmer, but swimming through high school, and has really put a lot of effort into making sure he's been better. He's the lone boy swimmer on the Defiance team this year, but coming back for what is his senior year.
Very quick times as I look down here. Did everybody set a PR? Very close, if not. Maybe all but one, it looks like.
So that one goes to Nate Yoakum of Anthony Wayne, just a freshman. They're in lane number 3, good solid swim there. So they'll break down the pool now and set up for diving.
So what we need to do is take a timeout. It's going to be a First Insurance Group timeout. When we come back, we'll get set for diving. We'll have Jillian Yoder of Anthony Wayne and Gabby Rittenauer from Defiance. They're going to go head-to-head for about 6 dives. 6 dives. Don't go anywhere. We'll have it all for you. You're watching DCTV Sports. We welcome you back to the Defiance YMCA Natatorium. Brent Balbinot, Josh Bush. So we are working our way through this week's meet. Defiance hosting Anthony Wayne, Ayersville, Lima Central Catholic. But we are switching to a different discipline. We've seen the relays between the boys and the girls. Time now for the diving portion of the competition. There's only 2. They're going to be competing against each other, but that doesn't mean there's any less intensity here, Josh.
Yeah, it is, and diving is one of those things where it makes me nervous watching them. A lot of times I announce for the swim meets, and I'll call out the dives when they're getting ready to go. And I ought to be honest with you, I don't know what any of that stuff means. But they get up in the air and they spin around, but it takes so much control. We talked about you know, that core and things like that. And I know Gabby, I believe, was a gymnast back in the day, or some, you know, gymnastics and things. And you know, they say that those make great divers, obviously, because they're used to contorting their bodies all around. But you know, just to have that body control when you get up in the air, spin, flip, turn, you know, straighten back out, and you know, it's really, really fun to watch them hit the water, and you can tell sometimes they come out a little frustrated, and
they know.
They know, yeah.
Gabby Rittenauer for Defiance, Jillian Yoder for Anthony Wayne. Gabby Rittenauer, a senior, will go first. Her first dive is a forward 1.5 somersault pike. Well, we talked about this before. Even if you're a novice watching diving, you need to know two things. You shouldn't see any daylight between basically body parts when you go into a tuck or a somersault, and as little a splash as possible. I'm trying to find where the judges are.
5.5, 5.5, and a 6. Okay. So great dive there for Gabby to start off with.
So this is going to be Yoder now. Oh, she drifted a little bit. She went into the water, not quite at 90 degrees, but that's going to be a tough one.
So the 5, 4, and a 5.5.
Okay.
So good solid dive there.
So next up for Gabby Rittenauer, this is going to be a forward 2 somersault tuck. This is a 2.2 level of difficulty.
The tuck is the method in which she hits the water. Tuck is
going
feet
in
first.
Feet first, correct. Looks like her legs split on her a little bit, and she gets straight 5s across the board.
It's another solid dive there for Gabby. She's really come a long way. She's been diving for a few years now, and watching her, she's upped her degree of difficulty in her dives, and really has done a really nice job of getting better and improving every year.
With one exception, her dive level of difficulty is going to be exactly the same as Yoder's, as maybe a little over-rotated there. Boy, she got a ton of torque. And you see 4, 5, 5. My goodness. You talk about power off the board, but sometimes maybe a little less is more, correct?
Yep. You got to find that happy medium, if you will.
So next up, this is called the 302C. I knew that you were asking about the categorization of this one there, Josh, but it's a 1.6 level of difficulty. This is a reverse 1 somersault tuck.
Nice solid dive there.
I would think so too, and that's still going to garner
5.5, 5.5, and a 6.
All right. Thought I saw a 6 at the end.
Yep. And I tell you that doing this enough, if you get into that 6 area, that's a pretty good dive. Those judges are pretty tough on you over there.
Same exact dive for Jillian Yoder here.
Very well done there too.
Guessing we're going to see similar. Ooh,
4.5, 5, and 4.5.
What do I know? Okay, 4.5, 5.
Maybe not a little. Maybe not quite the height off the board. Mark Hall, Amy Grog, the 2 officials over there, have been doing this a long, long time. And then Jeremiah Fleshman, the Defiance swim coach, the 3rd judge over there. And Jeremiah's been around this a while as well.
So next up for Gabby, this is a 1.5 level of difficulty. It's an inward pike. She's got her legs split, trying to get a strong base. Well, that was pretty nifty. We'll wait and see, but yep, it does garner some higher scores.
6.5, 6.5, and a 6.
All right there, bud. Good. Tell you what, I had a chance to talk to Gabby Rittenauer. She was under the warming lights and just trying to kind of stay loose, but bubbly would be the personality that came to mind when I had a chance to chat with her. Wow. Well, that was a 2.2 level of difficulty. That was a forward 1.5 somersault twist free, higher level of difficulty, granted lower scores.
5, 4.5, and a 4.5, but that's a tough one.
Now you're going to see a little bit more of a back-to-back sample size here, because both divers are going to go with a back pike. Level of difficulty a 1.6.
You notice a lot of times they'll mix in some easier dives with some harder dives and make sure they get a nice solid score across the board.
Trying to build up a little bit of torque off the board. Oh, wow. I'm going to guess those are going to be pretty good scores.
6-6, 6.5.
Yes.
So really nice solid dive there from Gabby. Again, when you get those backwards ones or the inverted ones, you got to get away from the board, give yourself that space to work, and you got to get up in the air too. So really nice job there from Gabby.
Jillian Yoder looks like she's, I'm going to guess, maybe about 5'7", 5'8". Gabby's a little bit smaller in stature. Yoder with more of a closed leg base, and
nice solid there. She
Yep.
came out a little rough, it looks like, but
Yep.
5.5 across the board for her.
wasn't able to stay tight, or as tight as I'm sure she wanted. So this is going to be it, the last of the dives, says Gabby. How about this? A 2.3 level of difficulty. This is going to be the most difficult dive for either competitor. This is going to be a back 1.5 somersault pike. A lot to do in a very short amount of time. Building up a little kinetic energy here, and we'll see when she's ready to go.
Nice job there getting
Yep.
off there.
We're going to have 5s across the board, maybe one
5.5.
5.5. Okay.
Solid dive there for Gabby.
Jillian Yoder's last dive won't have quite the same degree of difficulty. 2 points. It's going to be a back 1.5 somersault, but a tuck instead of a pike. Again, maybe just a little over-rotated as she hit the water, but still a good dive, and it's going to garner 2 5s and a 4.5.
So nice, solid job
Yeah.
by both of those both of those divers. Good job for both of them. I'm impressed every time I watch them. No matter, sign me up for a cannonball, and we'll see what happens.
I joked with Gabby. I said, we will yell cannonball, because Coach Weissman was joking with her. Sometimes she was forgetting. She was so hard on herself during warm-ups. He's like, you have to stay locked in. You've got to know what you're doing before you take the board. And I jokingly said, we'll yell cannonball from the top. I think it was a forced smile. First time I've met the young lady, but she seemed, like I said, very good-natured. So the diving portion of this meet is in the books. They'll reset the pool. We will take a quick reset as well. It's time for a quick break, brought to you by First Insurance Group. We're back with more of this diving meet from the Defiance YMCA Natatorium. You're watching DCTV Sports. Well, if we haven't wet your whistle by now, this should, as we're working our way not quite halfway through this meet, but we are finished with a lot of the relays, the diving portion of the competition. Now it's time for some individuals, as the girls' 100-yard butterfly is going to be next up on the docket. Mel Bidet from Lima Central Catholic, and then 3 Anthony Wayne swimmers in Kiera Salos, Emily Schrader, and Avery Rosick. 100-yard butterfly.
The event nobody wants to swim.
I was going to say, it's not, it's learned. Is there anybody or a swimmer that would tell you they naturally took to the butterfly stroke?
One.
Okay. Do tell, there's got to be a backstory there.
His name was Hunter. He was a Fairview swimmer, actually went to state for butterfly. His mom was one of our former assistant coaches here.
Okay.
And my daughter, her name was Coach Rosemary, was Hunter's mom, and Fairview was one of those programs that didn't have a full team, so she was the coach of the Fairview team. But Rosemary, my daughter, if you were to ask her right now, if she was on the mic, you say, hey, you want to go do a Rosemary workout? She would absolutely tell you she's changing and going home because Hunter was that Michael Phelps thing we talked about, the long body. I mean, the kid had gigantic arms, and it just was a really solid fit for him. Started swimming when he was a young kid, and probably about the only swimmer I've ever really known. Logan Hartman, who graduated from Defiance last year, had a really nice butterfly, but he was more of an IM swimmer. But yeah, not a lot of kids will tell you their favorite stroke is the butterfly.
I think we had a good shot there too. When you've been out of the water for this long, saw a lot of the Defiance swimmers, but even some of the others going over to the heating lamp there, just trying to stay warm, trying to stay loose.
Yeah, the amount of effort that you exert and then you kind of cool off. I mean, we know cramping in football and things like that, it can happen here in the pool too.
We mentioned the field for this one, 3 Anthony Wayne swimmers and 1 from Lima Central. Right now it looks like Bidet from Lima Central Catholic.
Mrazek.
Yep.
Lanes 2 and 5 are going at it pretty good, and then you've got Kiera Salos from Anthony Wayne, just a freshman in there, holding her own there in lane number 3. Nice, good butterfly kicks from these young ladies. That's a key part of this. Not only do you have to get your arms out above the water, extend out, but you want to have a nice solid butterfly butterfly kick behind it to kind of help propel you. Makes it a lot easier.
Rosick made up some time and is now putting some distance between her and Bidet. She got a great turn, and she's turning it on here as she approaches the wall.
Two-hand touch, she'll come off, gets a nice little streamline out of the water. And you see on the other side of that, Bidet had a
bridged
really
a little early.
Slow turn, and that's going to cost her. You can see now it's starting to catch up with her. This is why you hear swimmers that don't like this. Once you hit that 50-yard mark of a butterfly, the fatigue just really, really sets in.
It's like a brick wall. It doesn't just sneak up on you, right? It hits you.
Oh, it hits you.
Rosick the winner in 1:22.58. She's going to crush the rest of the field. Second place, and it will go to Bidet, but at 1:36.85. Folks, in a sport where tenths of seconds, sometimes even hundredths of seconds, make the difference between first or second place, Rosick just crushed this field.
Coming in with no seat time, her and Bidet both no seat time. Great swims there, but then Salos and Schroeder both dropping some good time on their seat time as well. So nice, solid PRs for all 4 of those young ladies.
Well, lots of times you talk about the benefits of being in the inside lane so you can kind of keep an eye on either your left or your right, but I know there are some swimmers that prefer the outside lanes. I can do some damage, make up time, and you can't see me.
That's part of it. Unfortunately, the further out you go, a lot of times you get a little extra movement from the water. So you can stay out in front.
If only you could just lead from beginning to end, right? Well, again, 3 Anthony Wayne swimmers. Camden Lengel in lane 2. Andrew Baldoff from Lima Central Catholic is the only non-general swimmer in this event. Nate Yoakum in lane 4 and Garrett Smith in lane 5.
Got quite the battle going on between LCC's Andrew Baldiff and Nate Yoakum from Anthony Wayne, lanes 3 and 4. Been going wire to wire here in the first 50.
A couple of underclassmen, too. Baldiff a sophomore and Yoakum just a freshman.
Baldiff's starting to pull away a little bit here. This turn's going to be so important for him, and he gets a nice turn, comes out with a nice streamline.
Wow, he looks like he's getting stronger. My goodness.
That is a very impressive swim from Andrew Baldiff.
Is he going to be sub? I was going to say 106, not quite. 106.29, but a very good performance.
So not a PR, but you can tell a nice strong swim. This is, I would wager to say probably one of his, it might be a kid that you can actually say likes this event.
Well, he came in with a personal best of 103.18, so he's off that a little bit, but at the same time, he wasn't really pushed.
No. And sometimes that's huge. You know, you get into a meet like this, and sometimes you kind of feed off of that pace, and, you know, the swimmers will even talk about that in practice. Lane assignments for practicing, you put your swimmers of like times. Typically, obviously it makes practice a little bit smoother. You don't have people running into each other, but at the same time, though, if you've got swimmers that can pace each other, it helps push them a little bit harder.
Iron sharpens iron, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Garrett Smith is fighting to just keep his head above water, literally.
And you can see he comes in with no seat time here, so obviously new to this event, and he's just a sophomore. You could see him not able to, you know, again, that core piece of that, okay? Staying up towards the top of the water. Really struggled with how far he was falling under the water there on those strokes.
So 3 heats for the girls' 100-yard freestyle. This will be the slowest of the heats from Perry, Ava Trent, and from Anthony Wayne, a pair of freshmen, and Ava DeMori and Sophia Schultz.
Nice solid start there for Ava Trent from Perry in lane number 2. She's going to have to get the angle on her hands a little bit, would help her glide into the water a little bit more. Kind of see her slapping the
little bit
top of the water.
Yep.
Nice kick and some good turns from these young ladies. A couple of freshmen and a junior.
Sophia Schultz made a great turn. She's made up a little bit of distance, but right now a little slower going into the wall on this turn.
See, she was a little out of sorts on the turn. Her body was not quite tight coming in there.
She came out at an angle too. I thought for a second she was going to cross the buoys.
You can see the distance starting to slow these swimmers down. Let's see what Ava has in store for this last 25. Got to really push here, dig deep, and
did Schultz hit the wall? I'm not sure that she did.
I don't know that there was an official caught that, but
we didn't see it either.
So again, you get into these lengthy swims, and a lot of times, if you again, you start that turn a little bit too early, and then you're struggling to get to it. It looked like she might have got it a little bit because she did
just enough.
She pushed a little bit, so a lot of times it's a little bit tough to see. But you can kind of tell a lot of times if you see like a push off the wall, but I'll give you that. Eagle eye up here, you saw that. So.
I didn't see a thing. Absolutely not. Right now, Sophia, you are my favorite swimmer of this meet. Well, part of that is difficult too because you're coming out for the first 2 laps, let's say, and you're keeping or maintaining a pace.
Sure.
Then, as we're seeing again, especially some of these underclassmen, some of these youngsters, things slow down. Everything starts burning. The clock in your head is different than your body.
Sure.
It
absolutely.
Makes it difficult to time things up.
Yep. And again, you've got goggles on, but how well do you see the wall? Are you paying attention to the floor to see? There's all these things that you look at and try to help time your turn in the wall, but if you're not on top of all that, it's easy to get off track a little bit.
Second heat, Abigail Young from Anthony Wayne and Jasmine Rodriguez from Defiance almost hit the wall at the same time, and Yolanda Bottino with a very good turn And then Ariana Bishop is in lane number 5, but this is a tight one through the first turn.
And we'll see how this goes. Again, Jasmine Rodriguez, new to the swim team this year, as I think Coach Smolik had mentioned to you earlier, has really come a long way since the start of the season.
He called her the most improved swimmer to date.
And she has worked hard. And even, having a daughter who's a teammate of hers will tell you that she asks questions. She wants to get better. She works to get better. And she's doing a nice job of showing that right here.
Boy, she has kept her pace as she comes off the turn. And right now, maybe saving a little bit in the tank, but Yolanda Bottino from Lima Central Catholic staying right with her.
And this will be where, it seems like Jasmine did save a little bit.
She
here.
did.
Sometimes the pace for these younger swimmers or inexperienced swimmers can sometimes get to you too, because you're not used to, oh wait, I got to save this, or I got to, maybe dial it back a little bit here and push harder here. So nice solid swim there.
That really was. That was impressive.
4.5 seconds off of her seed time there for Jasmine Rodriguez.
Got to be happy with that. Time of 1:30.09. They're going to catch their breath a little bit as we'll have the last heat.
Yeah, when you swim those long events, you always hope that the recall judge on the far side doesn't blow that whistle too quick.
Because you're struggling to get out of the pool.
Because once she does that, you got to get out.
No matter how hard it is. Yeah. So this is a loaded heat right here, Josh. Maya Matawa from Anthony Wayne, just a freshman in lane 1. Addie Lauk from Lima Central Catholic in lane 2. Bryn Lust from Patrick Henry. Lane 4 will be Emma Skinner. Dawn Hibbard from Ayersville, and then Ruby Yates from Anthony Wayne, a sophomore.
Bryn Lust in 3 and Emma Skinner in 4. Seed times about a second apart. But now you see Addie Luck in lane 2 coming out on fire and leading the pack through the first turn.
Well, the fastest heat, and right now we are seeing why, as we've got congestion in lanes 2, 3, and 4.
Looks like they're going to get a split at about 35, 34 high on the splits for the first 2. So you're looking at about 1:10. We'll see if they can keep that pace up.
Right now, Lust maintains her lead about a half a body length. Lauk, her teammate, didn't maybe get the best turn. And unless somebody's got a superhuman effort in them, looks like Bryn Lust is going to run away with this one.
Good solid swim, start to finish for her. She kept a really nice pace the whole way. She's going to push her PR time, and looks like she's just shy of that, about 0.2 of a second over, but a really good swim there for Bryn Lust.
All the way around. That was arguably the best heat so far of the afternoon. Whistle sounds. Nate Niemeyer from Lima Catholic Central, TJ Miller from Anthony Wayne, and now we're going to see Lucas Bennett, technically from Tenora, but literally representing Defiance.
Yep.
Going to see him for the first time in the pool.
Doesn't score team points for Defiance, but a auxiliary member, if you will, of the Defiance group, and nice young man as well. It looks like we got a scratch in lane 2.
We must. Okay, so Niemeyer is not in the race. This is just head-to-head between Miller and Bennett.
Come in with about a 1.5 seconds difference on their seed times. Good solid turn by both of those young men.
Right now Bennett staying with him. Miller's seat time 101.97. Bennett's 103.22.
See how this turn goes. They both get under the water quick. Out. And a nice turn there. Lucas Bennett made up some time on that turn, and we'll see if he can keep the pace here.
Wow. This is almost dead even going into the final turn.
Under and off. Let's see who Lucas breathe. They both breathe out of their flip turn, but a nice solid turn from both of these young men. It's going to come down to who has that final sprint.
Boy, look at Lucas Bennett. Where is he finding this? He's going to smash his personal best.
Wow. A great swim by both of those young men.
By about 3 full seconds.
Lucas Bennett, a great swim, 3 seconds off of his
Wow.
personal best. A nice job there by TJ Miller as well. He took about a little over a second off of his personal best. So that's 2 really good swims there.
Man.
And we talked about this, that pace of being next to each other and pushing each other. That probably had a little bit to do with what you saw there between those good competition between those 2 young men.
That was fantastic. And just like that, they'll tell you it seems like a long time, but done in just a little over a minute.
Well, speaking of long times, here we go.
Getting to the distance events. This is a whole different ball game. The 500-yard freestyle. Anthony Wayne, Aubrey Beeman in lane 1. Paige Buchenberger in lane 2. Haley Becker for Defiance in lane 3. Also another Bulldog swimmer, Adrienne Fry in lane 4. And Anthony Wayne freshman, Nora Pulici.
So Haley's not typically a distance swimmer. Haley's a sprinter. Adrian's a little bit more of a distance swimmer. So we'll see. I would have fathomed that their seed times are not. I think Adrian might have swam it not too long ago, but I'm not sure what that seed time is for Haley. But a couple of seniors out there doing this 500.
Well, Becker comes into this one with the best seed time of this pack at 6:32.83. But you talked about pacing yourself during some of the shorter events or even the sprints. Really have to make sure you don't burn out quickly in this event.
So in a 25-yard pool, you got 20 laps. And again, you see the kids down at the other end. You got teammates with counters here. It's easy, to lose track of how many laps you're on when you're swimming, 4 or 5 laps. Think of trying to keep your head straight when you got to get to 20. So they'll get some help down here, and you'll see a little bit of strategy here as Adrian has Jordan doing her counter for her. You notice that up and down motion. She's telling Adrian she needs to go a little faster. Okay, so that's from her coaches, that's their cue to, hey, you need to pick up that pace a little bit. Or a left and right is, hey, you're on a good pace. You don't have to worry about it. Keep up your pace. So obviously you don't want to slow down. But,
no.
That's, again, those nonverbal cues that we talked about earlier. That's a way that you can indicate. And a lot of times you'll get a coach over there telling a swimmer, hey, you need to go up here. Or, it's one of those things where, a swimmer, it's like a pitcher and a catcher in baseball. Pitcher likes a certain catcher, right? So you've got swimmers that like to have a certain person counting for them, and so they get used to the nuances. Or what pace are they on? What are their, they'll watch the split up there and see where they're at. What do you need to split on? And so when you run your first few 50s here, you want to have a really, really strong start. You want to get a really good start, and then you got to maintain a good pace because you got to be able to sprint that last, 75 to 100. You really want to be able to sprint and finish strong on that last one.
Not quite to the halfway point here, but again, Defiance is owning this one as Becker and Fry nip and tuck here, 1 and 2. Again, up in lane number 2, which is Buchenberger for Anthony Wayne. I believe she's getting lapped.
And that's a fairly common thing you'll see in some of these. Obviously, you've got a couple of swimmers here with no times. Again, you don't know if, they've obviously, hopefully practiced it, but, that a lot of times you swim it the first couple of times to see how it goes. If you, and you're going to get those learning curves. You learn, the pacing thing and the breathing, and some of that is, you don't learn it until you get into a meet, and you just got to kind of see how it works for you.
I don't know if you had a good view of it there, but Adrienne Fry being told, pick up your pace.
Well, the person holding hers is probably not going to hold anything back and telling her to go a little faster, that's for sure.
Little vocal, is she?
Yeah. She actually swam a 500 a couple of years ago, and her coach was having her counter go a little bit rapid with her, and she actually finished an entire lap ahead of everybody.
Oh, wow.
And she started to swim again. She thought she was off her count. She dropped like a minute and a half on her 500. She hadn't swam it for a long time, but that's what, you're just so unaware of what's going on. You're just kind of going off the cues. And she got out of the water and she comes up, she says, I thought I was a lap down. And because they were trying to get her to go so fast.
Did she have more in the tank? Could she have done it?
Well, I don't know if she could have made another lap, but
she could have.
But that's part of that strategy.
Time, though, is what you're saying.
That's part of that strategy. There is just, and you can see Coach Smolik on the side there. He's giving those nonverbal cues, picking up the pace, trying to encourage those swimmers from the sideline as well. I don't really call that a sideline. I guess it's
on the deck.
Pool deck.
Yeah, exactly, pool deck.
So we'll be getting the bell here pretty soon.
Right now, Haley Becker has led from start to finish. Teammate Adrian Fry has kept a pretty good pace, but about a body length off of her. And everybody else is a matter of pride.
Yep. You want to finish. You want to, again, a lot of these times it's, you look at these as what was my personal best? Can I shave time off? That's a goal of every swimmer. You come to a meet, you want to reduce that personal best. You want to make that personal best even better. And that's goal number one for each one of these swimmers every time. So Haley will be getting the bell when she comes back down to the block end. Meet referee Mark Hall down there will do the honors of indicating to her that she'll be making her final trip down, and then she'll get the orange block on the counter to let her know as well.
Getting the bell at the wall. Good turn for lap number 19.
You think you could get in there and hit 20?
No, absolutely not. In my best day, I swam for survival, but that's a story for off the air. But I can tell you, when you're afraid of drowning, you find a little extra.
I joke with my dad a lot because we had a pool growing up, and I said I learned how to swim because he just threw me in the deep end and said, sink or swim. But, coming from someone who had a pool and swam a lot when I was a kid, 25 yards down that pool's a lot further than it looks.
Haley Becker won't quite get a PR here, but she will finish at 6:36.51. And shortly behind her, Adrian Fry at 6:41.72. That will be a new PR.
So a solid 6-second drop there for Adrian. That's a great swim. 6 seconds seems like maybe a lot, but when you're talking about over the course of 6.5 minutes, 6 seconds, that's about a second a minute that you're dropping off of there. That's a really good pace that she kept for this swim here in the 500.
So 2 swimmers left in the pool, and I believe in lane number 2, this is Buchenberger. I believe she still has another lap to go, unless I miscounted.
I believe you are correct.
Yep.
She came in at 8:33.58. So she's going to have to push her pace here to finish with a PR. A couple of good first times there for Audrey Beeman in lane 1. She swam that 7:33.92. That's a solid swim for someone with no time coming in. And then Nora Poolhoosh?
I think you were right, Poolhoosh.
With a 7:12.11. Just a freshman there for Anthony Wayne.
Well, what this is allowing is everybody else to catch a blow. I was going to mention it, but Adrian Fry's shoulders and arms were flush red.
Yeah. And I've noticed that at a lot of meets with her, and she exerts a lot of effort.
Body temperature is one thing, but that lactic acid building up, I'm like, man, you can feel it. So whistle sounds, everybody out.
We'll do it again.
Yes, why not?
The boys will have their turn.
I was going to say, etiquette says ladies first, but now the boys will get their chance at the 500-yard freestyle. Pair of Anthony Wayne swimmers, Will Kane in lane 1, James Hardern in lane 2. From Ayersville, Caleb Branham in lane 3. He's just a freshman. Junior Austin Craig from Lima Central Catholic in lane 4, and Defiance's own Caleb Sierra in lane 5. Only 2 of these swimmers with times of notation. You know what?
Good solid turns here. Again, you want to get a nice solid pace on these first, the first 50, first 100, 200. You want to get a nice solid pace and then kind of level out a little bit and then save some gas and close out strong on that final 75 to 100.
So let me ask you this, and I'm assuming that you would know this via asking members of the team, maybe in particular your daughter. I was not built to run. But I would always try and at least take a mile. I had a friend who was built for it, was a scholarship runner down at Vanderbilt way back when. But he would tell me about the runner's high. He would say at some point, you just don't feel anything. It's almost like you're floating. Is there anything remotely close to a swimmer's high? Has anybody told you that you just kind of get those endorphins or that adrenaline moving to a point where it's almost effortless?
You know, I think it comes at a time when, you know, I think you can kind of look at all the sports, right? You work on that technique and you work on the fundamentals and all those pieces, and then once you get to that point, the rest of it starts to slow down and come easier. I can tell you that from a swimmer's perspective, this is a pretty, you're at a pretty mild meet today. You get a bigger meet, and the screaming and the yelling and the hype that's going on, you can hear some of the teammates kind of hollering and cheering here, but you know, the Western Buckeye League meet will be here at the end of January, and you have all 10 teams from the Western Buckeye League here, and you got a team like OG that'll come in here with 40, 50, 60 swimmers. You know, some big teams. OG has, I don't know where they get them from, but they have so many swimmers, and they have a really, really great program in the WBL. But, you know, it comes to that point where you talk to these swimmers and you got everybody cheering and hollering, and you're up on the blocks, and you get into the relays. And we'll see some of this coming up with the relays after they get the 200 free relay coming up here. You're going to hear you're going to hear some of that cheering and stuff, and that's when those endorphins kick in, and you start to really feel it, and you're at that point where, hey, it's a championship meet, and then boom, you don't even think about anything else.
Now, I've noticed the warming light over there, or lamp. Do they have a warming pool here?
Well, so the smaller pool at the other end
technically could be used for that.
It could.
Not today.
at most meets, those pools are off limits. That would be considered a DQ zone.
Okay.
But at your bigger meets, again, WBLs will be here. They'll allow them in that pool for warm-ups and cool-downs.
Sure.
Because you're going to go, you know, here you're swimming 10 minutes apart, 15 minutes apart. At a WBL meet, you might be an hour, hour and a half. So you don't want to get in the pool tight, you know. So you'll see kids in here, and they'll use that as a warm-up or a cool-down, just to stretch it out a little bit. But yeah, you know, you'll see a lot of kids. They'll wrap up in the towels. My daughter will wear a hoodie, or she's actually got they make swim parkas.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
If you didn't know that, but she's got one that's like it goes all the way down to her knees, and it's like she could wear it outside in the winter.
So it's like a standard parka.
Next week when the polar blast comes through, she could wear that outside.
You got me already nervous, because I know we're scheduled to do a basketball game Tuesday night at Ayersville. Right now it looks like rain instead of snow, but there's a long way to go between now and then. You
know, I've said all of my years of broadcasting, meteorologist is what we should have done, because those guys go to work, they lie, they don't know what they're talking about, and then the next day they come back and you want to know what they have to say the next day, and you just come back for more. So yeah, we'll see what happens. It looks like maybe I don't know how the other school districts are, but Defiance hasn't had a single delay or cancellation yet this school year.
Weather has been exceptionally good this winter.
Not even a fog delay.
Nope.
So, and someone who gets up and goes to work for the school every day, I've kind of missed the fact that we haven't had it. You know, before I was working for the school, I thought, just go to school, you're fine. Now I'm like, let's bring on those delays. So we'll see what happens. But you know, back to the parkas, the idea, of course, obviously you see it at a cold football game in the wintertime. Quarterback's over there, he's got a big jacket on, and they've got the heaters on the sidelines and stuff. You want to keep your body temperature up. You don't want to cool down too much. You'll start cramping up, and it just, you know, it's not good for any athlete.
Working our way a little, I think we're roughly halfway through this one.
So I think we got a 13 over
for
here.
For the leader,
15,
yeah, a little 15.
17.
My goodness.
So we're going to be getting a bell here pretty soon from meet referee Mark Hall. Looks like lane number 2 is going to get the bell here on his trip down to the block end.
That'd be James Hardern from Anthony Wayne. Tell you what, for not having a time, he is basically
right
running
along.
away with this.
And he should finish about 6.5 minutes or so. Should be a really good time for him.
Only two of the competitors in this heat with listed times. Caleb Branham from Ayersville at 6:29.64, and Austin Craig of Lima Central Catholic.
Patrick.
Or did I say, I'm sorry, Ayersville. Make that Patrick Henry. Absolutely.
There's a lot of initials, and,
yes.
and if you've never looked at a swim
The
program,
abbreviation there, it all starting to look like Sanskrit to me right now.
sometimes you go, how did you get that abbreviation for your name?
Very good question. All right, so off the bell lap number 20.
Well,
And boy, look at him. He saved a little.
Yeah, and lane number 3 there, Caleb Branham, you can tell just as a freshman there, he is a experienced distance swimmer. You see that sprint finish there at the end. He's going to drop
6:28.18.
Yeah, he's going to drop 1.5 minutes off of his seat time, and that was all from pacing where he was at, because if he would have kept that same pace, he probably would have tacked on 15-20 seconds. You see him knowing he's got to hit that sprint to the end and finish strong.
I'm looking at lane number 2, James Hardern, and the clock had stopped at 6:12.45, and I'm not sure if he was able to finish. He is leaning up against the
I think
deck.
he was the first.
Was he the first?
Yeah,
Are you serious?
Yeah, he was the first one.
Boy,
He got the bell.
James, you snuck in underneath
The
Josh's parka story. and our apologies.
He had a great swim for a young man with no time.
Wow.
You want to near that 5.5 to 6 minute mark is typically a time you can see starting to hit podiums at sectionals and things like that. So swimming is one of those sports where everybody qualifies for sectionals. It's like basketball and everything. But then districts, you take your top swimmers from the sectionals and move on to districts. So Defiance was blessed with some district qualifiers last year, and hopefully have some of those again.
I believe both the outer lanes are into their final lap. That would be Kane for Anthony Wayne and Sierra for Defiance.
Looks like Kane's gonna have a slight edge here over Caleb. Caleb coming in with no time. I'm not sure he's ever swam a 500.
Tell you what, Lucas Bennett was getting a workout there though with his lap card. Maybe creating a little extra wake for him at the wall.
A little extra encouragement
Yep.
to get down there.
I'm just telling him get going.
The lengthy portion of today's meet has come to a close.
Now we're getting into the relays here, bud.
Yeah, a couple of freestyle relays, the 200 freestyle relays. You'll get a 50 from each one of the 4 swimmers. Typically a very fast-paced 200. As you can see, Anthony Wayne's A team here, they're going to come in their seat time under 1:50 at 1:47.13, which is a solid time for a girls relay team. But yeah, Anthony Wayne with again that big roster, they've got an A and a B and a C relay.
It's almost like the Chinese Army. They just send wave after wave after wave at you.
So Defiance will be in lane 4.
And for Defiance, Jordan Bush first into the water.
So she's coming down and trying to keep pace with Kira Salos of Anthony Wayne's A team in lane number 3. Good turn from both of those young ladies. LCC, Addie Lauk in lane number 2 had a nice turn there. And this first split for the 50. Always want a solid lead off for your relay. Anthony Wayne will hit the wall first. The split 30.5.
Pair of sophomores on the second leg for both Anthony Wayne and Defiance, and Ruby Yates and Jasmine Rodriguez.
And this is where the experience for Anthony Wayne is going to kind of come into play here. Again, Jasmine has really worked hard to get better at her strokes and her turns.
Wow.
Looks like Anthony Wayne's B team in lane number 5 closing the gap a little bit on Defiance.
Should be Addie Zins now in the pool for Anthony Wayne.
Adrian Fry in the water now for Defiance, trying to make up a little ground. Looks like she lost her goggles on her
a little bit
entrance.
Where you just close your eyes and try and count in your head, try and keep some sort of pace.
Yeah, you peek a little bit, make sure you don't run into the wall.
Boy, Zins with a quality leg. Avery Rosick, the senior, is going to finish this out on the anchor.
We'll see if Haley can close this gap a little bit. She's got a lot of ground to make up. So Rosick's going to have a good turn. She's starting to. Becker's closing in a little bit, but it's going to be probably a little too much.
It's about a half pool length right now for Anthony Wayne. But again, Haley Becker going to finish up strong. So mark the time, 2:09.82 for the Generals and 2:15.96 for the Bulldogs, first and second.
Looks like LCC will be coming in third. Mel Badea is closing that one out there for them, 2:28.10 for Lima Central Catholic in lane number 2.
Well, the all-freshman team in lane 1 for Anthony Wayne. Eden Yates going to finish it up.
You know, and a lot of times when you have a deep roster like this, you can only get points for 2 relays. So, you know, they're not going to score any points here. But not only are these kids getting a time, but they're also the relay starts and finishes. I mean, there's so many little intricate pieces. Obviously, you can't be off the block before the swimmer, before you hits the wall, things like that. Timing to work on. Obviously, as freshmen, you're going to want them on a relay team when they get older, and you know, you don't have to work those little pieces out when they're juniors and seniors. You got less work to do when they get a little older.
Everybody needs reps. So up next, the boys' 200-yard freestyle relay. And we've got Anthony Wayne with a foursome of Miller, Zunzak, Smith, and Hardern. Lima Central Catholic, Niemeyer, first in the pool, followed by LeBeau, Woods, and Baldoff. And are we having, yeah, there's only 2 here, I was going to say.
Yep.
Looking down, did I see somebody in the extra lane? Did not.
Anthony Wayne with about a 20-second, 15-second better time on the seed here, and they're showing that in this one as they've got first 2 legs have been real solid swims here for the Generals.
For a second, I thought our cameraman Will was just going to go ahead and dive in. He couldn't resist the urge, but no such luck.
I mean, if we sink or swim.
That is a completely different style of pool activity.
What do you think Will does? Sinks or swim? Will, do you sink or swim?
What he does is ignore. He's acting like he's locked in. But we know that he's thinking, would I sink or would I swim?
Anthony Wayne with a nice solid lead here, about a half a pool length. On this third leg, we'll see what the closers, if you will, can do.
It's going to be Hardern for Anthony Wayne, Baldoff for Central Catholic.
They're going to be way off their seat time. A minute 38 seemed a little low for me, but
yeah, right now at 146 and counting. You never know. Some days you just have all 4 guys hitting on all cylinders, right?
And 2, it's a team time, so that may not be the same 4 gentlemen in that relay that set that 138.
So this one in the books. We'll go to event 19, the girls' 100-yard backstroke.
So back to our individual events, backstroke, and then I think we got another relay. Breaststrokes in there too, and then a relay. So
Anthony Wayne, and Anthony Wayne. Gianna Cortez, Abigail Young, and Claire Schroeder. A pair of Defiance swimmers in heat number 2. So they'll hop in.
So you can tell 3 swimmers with no times are.
It's almost like rolling the dice. You're not sure what you're going to get here.
Well, that first whistle is to get in the pool, and they needed a little extra help.
A refresher.
So you can see lane 5, a nice streamlined start there for Claire Schroeder. That's one of those things you learn, once you get through the stroke, you work on that start a little bit. There's an arc that goes into the back and kind of creates like a little bit of a back dive.
Nice turn by Schroeder.
You can tell she's been working on the start and turn pieces of her backstroke. So you get a turn, 1 stroke, glide, flip.
That sounds like a band. There we go, and to a T, just like you said.
Nice turn there from Claire Schroeder. I believe she's, no, she's a junior. And you can see, oh, so that is probably a DQ in lane number 3.
Looks like it. The clock is stopped.
That was on the split. She came out on her stomach. I don't know if maybe the officials might not have caught it. So
okay.
Looks like she lost her goggles in the process of
they have
everything
restarted the clocks for both those lanes.
Yeah, so when you touch the pad for a turn, it'll stop for your split, and then I think it's 10 seconds it holds.
Okay. Well, how about this?
Oh, her goggles are on. They're just clear, and I couldn't tell that she had goggles on.
Time of 1:30.40 for Claire Schroeder.
A solid swim there that would give her a time that could compete in that second heat as well.
Considering the fastest of heat number 2 is 1:30.07. Yeah.
1:20.
Oh, excuse me, 1:20.41. It would help to look down one.
Yeah, I had to learn that a long time ago too. You seed from the middle lanes out.
Yep.
3, 4, 2, 5, 1, 6.
Yeah.
I said, they told me that. I said, what? Okay, good. All right.
Imagine what this place is going to be like for the conference championships.
It's a great atmosphere, and the coaching staff does a great job. Jerry Beauty, as you know, does a fantastic job with everything. They'll have a podium that they put up in the corner of the pool deck, and every so many events they take a break, and you get the kids up on the podium with their medals and all that. And it's really a fun atmosphere.
I asked Jerry Beauty at the Border War, I said, how long have you been married? And I think he said 40 plus years. I said, no, to the school. And he said 1990. Yep. So I said, okay, so at least your wife does have the school beat.
So we got a pair of Defiance swimmers, an Ayersville swimmer, and a Lima Central Catholic's Thunderbird swimmer here.
Right now at the turn. And this looks good between Emma Skinner of Central Catholic and Jordan Bush. Jordan's got the lead here by what, about a half a body length? Maybe not, a little less.
We'll see if she can keep pace. This is not an event that she swims on a regular basis, but needed to see if she could improve her time a little bit.
Well, as you said, you get a stroke, a turn, and then a flip. It looked pretty good. She maintains a narrow lead here.
If her sister was here, her sister was a backstroker, would tell her that was a terrible turn.
Okay.
Her sister could streamline to that 10-meter mark on the other side. So
you're saying
she was a backstroker.
Specialty.
So we'll see if they've got anything left in the tank here. Good turn by both of them. Going to have to really kick on that final 25. That's where it's all at.
Well, she's found a little something here. And it looks like she's going to hold on. Oh, this is going to be close.
Looks like maybe by about a half a second.
Boy, 121.73 versus second place, 122.23.
So a PR for Jordan Bush. A couple of seconds off there.
Yep. Not bad for not being her specialty, huh?
It wasn't bad.
Did she hear your voice or her sister's in her head on that last lap?
She will tell you it would not be her sister's voice.
Okay, fair enough.
luckily for us, it was always they had two different strokes that they like to swim. So there was never really a competition of who was going to be who in each event. So.
All right, the boys will take center stage here. Again, a trio of Anthony Wayne swimmers. James Harder in lane 1. Cole Zunzik in lane 2. And do we have a scratch in lane 5?
Yep,
okay.
Lane 5 is a scratch.
We do have, again, technically Tenora, but literally Defiance being represented by Lucas Bennett in lane 4. And Brady Fison from Central Catholic in lane 6.
Good start here for Andrew Baldoff and Lucas Bennett. I believe those were the two that went head-to-head in the 100 free, if I'm not mistaken.
That gave us I don't even want to say arguably, it gave us the best race of the night.
Now check that. That was T.J. Miller of Anthony Wayne from there. So I apologize there, T.J.
All right, now Baldoff looking very strong.
Yeah, we saw him earlier in a couple of swims, and he's a very, very strong swimmer. Only a sophomore from LCC.
Again, we talked about it. You broke it down. He's got that length. We're curious to know officially how tall he is, but he's going to have at least a quarter of a pool length lead, maybe a little bit more by the time Bennett gets to the turn.
James Hardern is Anthony Wayne on lane number 1 is making up a little ground here as we head down the distance. Let's see what Lucas Bennett's got in the tank here to finish this final sprint. Come down to that finish in lanes 1 and 4.
This is going to be tight, and who gets there first?
It's like Lucas Bennett.
Boy, by an eyelash.
8/100ths of a second.
Yeah. We talked about it. Tenths of seconds, hundreds of seconds in this sport make the difference. We're at a 107.83. Am I reading it correctly? No, 118.25 for Bennett. That was the winning time.
So that's a nice 3.5 second drop there for Lucas. Good solid swim.
We've got 20 meets, or pardon me, 20 events in the books. We're working our way towards the tail end of this one. Okay.
4 left, but 3 really.
They're all going to be mashed into one heat.
Yep.
Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay. So what do we got here? Looks like the 100-yard, girls 100-yard breaststroke. We've got 4 Anthony Wayne swimmers and 1 Central Catholic. Nora Pulhuge in lane 1. Paige Buchenberger in lane 2. Addie Lauk in lane 3. Audrey Beeman in lane 4. She's a junior. And Eden Yates, a freshman, for Anthony Wayne in lane 5.
Nice turns there. Coming out again, you've got a 2-hand touch, come off the wall, you get some dolphin kicks there, and then you got to pull out.
Finally getting to the wall right now, the freshman Eden Yates is getting her baptism, can't say by fire, but in this case by breaststroke.
And again, this is one of those, you typically freestyle backstroke, and then you start to dive into the breaststroke and the butterfly, and you can see the coaches here on the end telling her reach. You want to shoot those hands out together, get that breaststroke kick there right with it, so you get a dolphin.
Addie Lauk had about half of the roster waiting for her at the turn. Man, this is going to be very close. Look at this.
Addie Lauk really closing some ground here at the end, and you can see as Paige Buchenberger, she can see her kind of dipping down under the water a little bit. Fatigue setting in. Don't look at the other lane, and that'll be a strong finish for both of those. 2/100ths of a second.
Wow.
And PRs for both of those young ladies.
And Yates, the freshman, into her final turn. not quite wishing the world would end, but man, it's got to be a lonely feeling when you know you're the last one, and yet you've got to finish no matter how hard your body's fighting you.
Well, I'll tell you what, great teammates down here encouraging her to finish all the way. Hear the coaches yelling. And you're right, it's like being on the pitcher's mound at Yankee Stadium. One of the loneliest places.
Well, in a situation, I'm going to use a wrestling term. I was talking with Ray about this at the Border War. You talk about the mental aspect of the sport at this point. And I had a chance to watch and learn from arguably the best that ever put a singlet on, in Dan Gable. And he made a comment once that I'll never forget at one of his clinics. He goes, if your mind doesn't give out, your body won't give out. Your body follows your mind.
Yep.
And so many athletes, whether they're novices, whether they're amateurs, or even professionals, they'll tell you that is still arguably the most difficult fight.
Yep. Yeah, and once your head's out of the game, the mechanics and the techniques, they start to slip, and I call it the snowball effect.
Yeah.
You know, one thing leads to the next.
Yep.
Push the snowball down the hill.
This is the boys' 100-yard breaststroke. We've got Seth Gregory in lane 2 of Anthony Wayne. Lincoln Woods, very long, very lean, from Central Catholic, and Will Kane from Anthony Wayne in lane 4.
So you can see Lima Central Catholic's Lincoln Woods there. He's got a nice, long, smooth stroke, differing from Seth Gregory there in lane number 2 from Anthony Wayne. A little choppy, but both very effective so far in this. And you got to believe if Seth Gregory could maybe get that smoothed out a little bit, he would probably lose a little bit of resistance, glide through the pool a little more.
At the wall, the turn, and
final 25. Who's got it in him?
I was going to say, coming out of it, Gregory looked like he had a good turn, but almost looked like he stumbled a little bit. He's got a little left in the tank, and this could be interesting.
And you catch Lincoln Woods. He was peeking over to the other lane.
Woods is going to hang on.
And that's one of those things in the breaststroke. You want to keep that head straight, not on a swivel.
Boy, I tell you what, though, look at the time shaved off of his previous by Lincoln Woods. 124.48, and am I looking at 120.81?
A little over 3 seconds there.
Wow.
In a 100 breaststroke. That's a huge drop in a 100 breaststroke. Great swim there from Lincoln Woods.
The whistle sounds, and I believe we've hit our final events of the afternoon, correct?
So we'll combine 23 and 24. It's the 400-yard freestyle relay. You got 2 Anthony Wayne girls teams in 1 and 2, and then Anthony Wayne and Lima Central Catholic 5 and 6 for the boys, and it's like the 200 free, but you get 100 from each swimmer. And it looks like we've only got one boys. Looks like the LCC team is scratched.
Okay.
So Anthony Wayne will
swimming against themselves, basically.
Swim on their own here, which I know Niemeyer has scratched a couple of events today, so they may be.
So how often does this happen, that you're going to have both the boys and the girls events simultaneously?
Well, you know, in relays, it's very common a lot of times, especially once you get to the 400s and things like that. Really, what it does is you do it. Number one, you don't want somebody swimming by themselves.
Sure.
And if you can condense it, especially in longer meets, you know, if you got 2 events back to back that have 2 entries, you combine them. You run them together, and it just saves on a little time. So it happens quite a bit.
I was going to say, I don't think the athletes probably care.
Yeah, you just got to watch sometimes. Obviously, in a smaller meet like this, you don't want to combine too much because you're cutting down the amount of time between swims.
Sure.
You know, this is at the end, so it's not going to matter. But
well, and in this case, it's basically an intra-squad for Anthony Wayne.
Sure. But yeah, you know, again, you don't want to get to the point where you're, you know, if you've got let's say you got a 200 that's going to take a couple of minutes, 2.5 minutes, and you combine them, well, you've just taken 2.5, 3 minutes off of a swimmer's time to rest between their next event. So you don't want to combine too much, but you don't want to drag the meet on too long either. Hurry up and wait. So
Which is, again,
that's what swim parents tell you.
Part of that mental challenge that the sport provides.
I always say it's just like a track meet in the water. You swim for 2-3 minutes over the course of a couple of hours.
Got to make sure you hydrate, recover. Winding down here, this was a relatively quick meet.
Yeah.
Less than 2 hours.
You figure you had about a 10, 15-minute delay at the beginning with the senior.
Yep.
I don't want to say delay. I don't mean that in a negative way, but didn't start right at 4:30 with the seniors' recognition. And it's a great group of seniors on this Defiance team, and they'll be missed. I can tell you that. So
wrapping this one up here.
In fact, Jordan says her and Adrian Fry, who's one of the seniors, they're pretty good friends, and she goes, well, I just don't know what swim's going to be like next year when Adrian's not here. So you love seeing that friendship build.
Sure.
You know, two kids that may not have crossed paths have become pretty good friends.
It's a fraternity, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Coach Smolik said he'd love to, because anybody that wants to go out will take you.
Yeah, absolutely.
The numbers definitely down post-COVID. He told me he had between 25 and 30 prior to 2020, and now they're looking at about, what was it, 7 or 8?
Yeah, it's about, you get 6 swimmers and a diver. So unfortunately, that's you know, just the way it is. And hey, you look at a swimmer like Jasmine Rodriguez, who'd never, you know, obviously she swam before, but not competitively, has, you know, come out and been a great part of this team. She's learned a lot. She's been able to increase her skills and get better. And you know, again, you know, at the beginning of the year, she was, you know, a novice, if you will, and is looking really good at every meet and improving at every meet.
So Anthony Wayne is now into their anchor leg, as this is going to be, I believe, Seth Gregory, the sophomore. Meanwhile, Anthony Wayne versus Anthony Wayne in lanes 1 and 2. I believe that is the anchor leg for relay team number 2, and I believe that's Nora Polhooge.
Apologize for we've messed that up tonight.
We were not able to get to the coaches for the other schools to get pronunciations, so we're doing our best, folks. And if we're wrong, I believe Josh said he will buy everybody he mispronounced a Mars bar.
Yeah. Send it care of Will on the pool deck.
At the bottom of the pool.
He's the beanie guy.
Be a little soggy.
Even in here, he's got a beanie. It's 115 degrees in here, and he's wearing a beanie.
He's styling it.
Yeah, we joke, but we love Will. Oh, and your fancy shoes.
Yes. The kids because he loves, ladies and gentlemen. All right, the boys are done in a time of 4:55.29.
It's a solid time for maybe 400 yards.
Yep.
It's minute 10, minute 15.
The girls are finishing up. Team number 2, a time of 5:08.59, and team number 1 are looking at 5:30.
Oh, we still got another 50.
Oh, wait a minute. We still have the anchor leg in the pool. All right. I was going to say, did a number go out? We're not quite finished yet. Still one left.
Well, it's been fun, Brent.
It has. I haven't had the chance to throw on the headsets yet this year.
That is true. It's our first time on the horn together.
You are. I was going to say, you're normally producing, or you're down on the floor for basketball, booming out over the microphone on the PA.
Yeah, Mr. Beauty keeps me pretty busy. In fact, that's where I told you earlier.
Where you're going after this?
We want to wrap this up and head over there for girls basketball in a little bit.
I think you're going to make it. You're just going to make it.
I think so.
So this would be Ava DeMore, the freshman, fighting it, but she will touch the wall in a time of 6:12.05, and that will do it.
concludes our meet.
Yep, concludes our meet. Do we need to take a post-game show here and wrap up, or are we putting the finish?
Just put the wraps on it.
Let's put the wraps on it right now. The Brunswick Eye and Contact Lens Center post-game show. All right, what stood out to you? Anything in particular?
Well, I think the amount of times today that we said PRs, for these kids, you get to this point, like we said, it's a winter sport, so they get in the pool. The meets start, end of November, right around basketball season, and you've got a handful of meets under your belt now. You've been in the water enough that you should be starting to knock some time off and get, and start to get things leveled out.
Sure.
Get into those times, being the parent of a swimmer, obviously, Jordan comes in and her breaststroke seed time is her district qualifying time from last spring. So she's not going to swim that in November when she's been not swimming for, and so again, you go back to that mental part of it. Now you're at that point, though, you've been in the water for 2 months. You've got a handful of meets under your belt. Now you're starting to get to that time. You got to get, you got to inch closer to those times. If you got a PR, let's knock that PR down. And we saw that a lot here today from all of these teams. All
Absolutely.
these kids. We saw a lot of PRs from a lot of swimmers today. And that, for me, being around this sport for a long time, coaches praise that.
Tells you're peaking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? You don't want to do too early, but build towards that, right?
And that's the goal. It's a team sport, but it's also one of those individual team sports. So you want everybody out there to continually get better every time. Well, it's easy to benchmark when you've got PR times that you can say, hey, listen, we got a PR. Those are great things to see.
You mentioned Jordan hanging on in the backstroke. The one that really stuck out for me was Lucas Bennett, shaving 3 seconds off of his personal best in the 100-yard freestyle. And he was going up against a solid competitor in TJ Miller. Both those guys set PRs, but Lucas Bennett reached back and found a little something extra today.
Oh, he absolutely did. And he had a couple of great swims today, and again, you like seeing that kind of stuff from these kids. And again, I've known Lucas for a long time. He's been around the pool. Great kid. And you see him come out here and put forth that effort and knock down that PR. That's a solid day for Lucas Bennett.
Well, it's been a solid day for our crew doing more than yeoman's work. Josh, appreciate you throwing on the headsets.
Absolutely.
Hopefully we'll get a chance to do it again in the near future.
It was fun.
He said that surprisingly.
Well, let's maybe a little bit cooler room temperature the next time.
Wear shorts next time. Absolutely. For our entire crew, a big thank you going out to all of our underwriters for helping make coverage of this event possible. Folks, if you enjoy DCTV's coverage of area high school sports, please walk through the business doors there, patronize those businesses, and let them know how much you appreciate it. We certainly do as well. For Josh Bush, I'm Brett Balbinot. We thank you, the fan, for tuning in. You've been watching live coverage of the swim meet at the Defiance Y Natatorium on DCTV Sports.